Swim Things in Blue Springs, your one-stop shop for all things swim. Pools, spas, patio furniture, swimwear, and accessories. Visit them in Blue Springs or at www.swimthings.com.
The results are he has won Masters Nationals and Masters International diving competitions, diving 1, 3, and 10-meter platform. I take as much pride in those accomplishments, having an influence on Alex Lapidus in his life, as I did with Craig Lincoln, going from 0 to Olympic medal in 4 years.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of The Journey. Now, to call our guest a legend is very appropriate and well-deserved. John Walker coached hundreds of divers in more than 2 decades, including an Olympic medalist and several NCAA All-Americans. And it's my pleasure to welcome Coach Walker to the show. How are you doing today?
Doing great. Life is good.
So I know you've accomplished a lot in your life as a coach, and it would be difficult to narrow your career down to one moment, but is there a moment as a coach that stands out for you the most? Not an easy question to answer.
Well, that really isn't an easy question to answer because there have been numerous moments.
And I think that speaks a lot about you as a coach. There are so many things about your coaching career that just stand out. You just can't single one out.
Well, actually, something that has stood out in my life is the birth of our children. Coaching was fun, and the sport of diving that you allude to was an absolute wonderful experience, but there are so many things that, well, you and Molly have experienced in your lives that they just keep building.
Absolutely. That's a good point.
What do you think you enjoyed so much about coaching at Harvard that compelled you to stay there from 1972 to 1988?
Actually, what I loved about being at Harvard was the concept that in addition to being an institution that supported academic excellence, was that the opportunity would be available for us to have athletic excellence in combination with athletic excellence. But the focus was really on what the students were there for in the first place, which was to get academic growth and development. The diving portion of that was, I suppose, fun, challenging, but it was an opportunity to excel and expand in more than just academic endeavors. So the opportunity for athletes to excel to whatever level they wished to excel was there. And that's what really drew me. I loved coaching before I got to Harvard, but that's one of the things I loved about being at Harvard University.
So you worked with some amazing head swim coaches in that time at Harvard, especially Don Gambrell, who has been revered as one of the greatest swim coaches ever. and he was the head coach there at Harvard for 2 seasons. How did the two of you work together in your first season there?
Well, Don recruited me to come to Harvard, and I was so flattered by that opportunity. He is the best swimming coach I ever dealt with, in many, many ways. He provided opportunities for people. I loved that concept. And he focused on individuals and their individual needs. I loved that. To me, that's what coaching is all about. And it's nice to win, but it's really the journey. Oh, funny, I'm looking at
Nice tie in there.
It's really the journey and experiencing a year. I only had 1 year with Don because he left Harvard to go to Alabama. There wasn't a diving coaching position at Alabama. Otherwise, I would have followed him there. But I couldn't go to some place where I couldn't have a source of income. And so I stayed at Harvard, and I'm really happy that that happened. But Don Gambrell was remarkable, still is.
Yes, still I've seen him, and he still has that mind of a coach. You can never let it go.
You betcha.
So
Yeah.
he brought you there to Harvard from Minnesota, where you're doing very well. So, I mean, like I said, you're doing very well in Minnesota. What did he say to you to convince you to make the jump from Minnesota all the way over to Massachusetts?
Well, I don't think that he necessarily said anything in particular. He provided an opportunity. And I saw an opportunity to go. I had a wonderful situation at the University of Minnesota. Actually, the swimming coach there, Bob Bowerson, he and Don Gambrell were on slightly different levels in the swimming coaching business. But in terms of human beings, they were both absolutely wonderful. This is my effort to express my appreciation for my good fortune for being at the right place at the right time. When I ended up being able to go to the University of Minnesota, I got to work with Bob Bowerson. This guy was unbelievable, and I learned so much from him. And the opportunity that I had working with Bob Bowerson helped me grow. I was very young at that point. I was only 2 years out of college when I ended up at the University of Minnesota. And the opportunities that Bob Bowerson provided for me were remarkable. And I was forever grateful for that. Going from Minnesota to Harvard, that just things just kind of fit into place.
Well, it's fortunate. Yeah, it's kind of luck meets opportunity.
Yes, that's right. You betcha. I went from Munich to Cambridge.
So speaking of Munich, let's talk about Craig Lincoln, who you coached to a bronze medal at the 1972 Olympics in Munich on the 3-meter springboard. So like you said, you were a very young coach at the time, and to be able to coach an Olympian at that age was probably a really good experience, I would imagine.
Well, there probably isn't enough time for me to explain what all came down. I'll see if I can give you a Reader's Digest condensed version of this. But when I was coaching at Minnesota, in those days, the state high school swimming and diving championships were held at our pool at the University of Minnesota. And over the course of time, of course, I got to meet all the youngsters who were participating in this particular case, the sport of diving. And Craig Lincoln, at that point in time, was a high schooler who participated in the sport of diving between November and February as a high schooler. And he just enjoyed the sport. The kid that beat him in the state championships, Todd Smith from Edina, Minnesota, he trained year-round in the sport of diving. He was involved on a year-round basis. I recruited both of them to come to the U. But I saw something in Craig that I think only one other coach in the country saw, and that was some talent that was not being nurtured. I'm trying to think of the right word to say, but in private conversations, Craig made it clear to me that he was interested in going beyond high school diving. And he had aspirations to go to the highest levels in the sport. And to be honest, you asked me about unique, specific things that happened. I will never forget going to Craig's house and sitting with his parents, Dr. Elizabeth Craig and Howard Lincoln, his parents, and Craig, my wife at the time, Bonnie, and I went to encourage them to consider the University of Minnesota. And it was at that point in time that I felt and said, I believe that Craig wants to accomplish at the international level. I think I can help him accomplish that. That was a unique period in my coaching career. And I can't tell you why, but I just had that feeling. Craig had never set foot on a 3-meter springboard before. And in the Olympic Games, it was just 3-meter and 10-meter platform, 3-meter springboard and 10-meter platform. Those were the only events at that in 1968 when this was. And I just had a feeling that Craig had the talent. I felt like I had the coaching ability to help him accomplish things. So the summer between his senior year in high school, freshman year in college, we trained 6 days a week, about 6 hours a day, teaching him his 3-meter list. And it took 2 years for Craig to win his first national championship. And at the end of 4 years, he had won 4 national championships. He won the Olympic trials with a record score. And of course, he went on to the Olympic Games and got the bronze medal. How fortunate can a coach be?
Yeah. How do you, that's the pinnacle for a coach, is to get your athletes to get to their highest point. And you did that. And I mean, I hope you didn't feel like, there's nothing else I could do. I hope you felt that you still had more in you as a coach, especially when you went to Harvard.
Well, that's true. That's very true. And it certainly wasn't the end game. There was you asked for moments. Craig and I, after he had won his medal, one of my cherished moments in my life was sitting beneath the Olympic flame and looking at Craig and communicating and saying, do you realize what we have accomplished in 4 years? Going from ground zero to Olympic medal? How fortunate can any people be? And I'm very, very proud of what Craig and I accomplished together.
Yeah,
And
it's quite remarkable.
well, I'm really proud of it. And I said at the outset, I'm a very fortunate human being at the right place at the right time. I have been very fortunate to have lots of wonderful things occur over the course of my life. It's like so many things. If you happen to be fortunate enough to be in the right place at the right time, I had parents who provided opportunities for me that I don't even know how to express the gratitude because I was provided with unconditional love and opportunity. And things just kind of happened over the course of time.
So you were a competitive diver and you were a competitive swimmer in your younger years. I mean, that's not, most people don't do that. It seems like there's this big chasm between being a swimmer or a diver, and never the twain shall meet. But you won a high school title in breaststroke, which is my stroke and Molly's stroke. So that's great. But you didn't do as well in diving. I think you never actually won a state title. Is that right?
You got it backwards.
So you got second in swimming and you won diving titles.
That's correct.
Got it. Okay. All
They
right.
were back-to-back events.
Yeah, that's hard to do, to go through all that diving and to get in and swim. Why did you decide that you wanted to do both of those sports in the same season?
Well, the real truth of the matter is, I grew up in the state of Indiana. I grew up in Muncie, Indiana. And I got cut from the freshman basketball team. And I wanted to participate in some sort of sport. And we had a swimming team. And I went out for the team. And I was interested in both things. And actually, I remember seeing the diver at Ball State. I went to a high school which was a laboratory school for Ball State Teachers College. So our pool was the Ball State Teachers College swimming pool. And I got to see their swimmers and divers. I will never forget seeing one of their divers do a back 1.5 somersault with 1.5 twists. And I'm going, wow, that's way cool. I want to do that. And so that kind of led me toward diving. However, there was only one diving event and we had a swimming team. So I ended up swimming as well as diving. My interest was kind of on the diving side of things, really, but I did both. In my junior year, I swam the butterfly leg on the medley relay. And we got 6th, I think. And I ended up 2nd in the diving event. And then my senior year, about 6 weeks before the state high school championship, my high school coach, needed somebody to swim the breaststroke event. And so I did. I just filled in wherever he needed. And turns out I had some success. And by, I think it was the week before the state high school championship in a dual meet, I broke the state record in the 100 breast. And And so I was going to swim the 100 breaststroke, and for sure I was going to dive because I was looking to win that. And I ended up winning the diving event, and I broke the state record in breaststroke in the prelims. Eddie Kens, who ended up beating me by 0.6 of a second in the finals, broke that, and that's what that was at the end. But that was my story there. Again,
Wow, I feel a little bit of envy. You just dove right into breaststroke and decided to break state records. I mean, that's remarkable. I mean, that, a lot of those athletes that you were racing, I mean, they have been swimming for years and wanted to be able to do what you did.
I'm very fortunate.
So why did you pick diving for your coaching career and not swimming?
Okay, the history, the real truth of the matter is, at the state championship where I won the diving and I got second in breaststroke, an Indiana University alumnus, Dr. Miles Barton, talked to me about the prospect of joining the Indianapolis Athletic Club. And I was so blown away. You talk about being at the right place at the right time, being given opportunities. I jumped at that chance. And I ended up participating in my first national championships, swimming in 2 breaststroke events and 2 diving events at Yale University, the Payne Whitney Gymnasium. I'm sure that you folks have heard about that place. I talk about a storied history. But I got to participate with that group. That the summer between my senior year in high school and freshman year in college, I ended up living at Doc Barton's home. He and his wife, Norma, we affectionately called her Mom Barton. There were 22 of us who lived in their home. And we trained at Broad Ripple Pool in Indianapolis. And at that point in time, I became focused on swimming because Doc Councilman.
Oh yeah, that's a name.
He was the guy who came up from Bloomington every day and trained us. And I'm living with guys like Frank Brunel, Bill Barton, George Breen, a whole bunch of, and Alan Summers. There were a whole bunch of guys that, again, I'm at the right place at the right time with all these folks. And when I went to IU in the fall, I thought I was going to be a swimmer. Except I got there and there were 6 teammates, all of whom were nationally ranked. And Chet Jastrzemski, if you happen to remember that name, Doug Minke was another one. I had a whole bunch of teammates who were way the heck better than I was. So I thought, if I want to make the team, maybe I ought to go back to diving. And so I did. And it turns out that Hobie Billingsley, his first year at Indiana University was my freshman year.
Okay.
I got in on the ground floor of what turned into one of the best diving programs in U.S. history. And talk about being at the right place at the right time, having the right opportunities. And after 2, actually, will probably laugh at this. After 2 weeks out for the diving team, Hobie pulled me aside and he said, "You know, John, my grandmother can dive better than you and she can't swim. Why don't you go back out for the swimming team? And if you can't do that, why don't you be manager?" I said, "Oh, Hobie, please give me a chance. Just please give me a chance. I really want to do this." And he did. And I ended up by my senior year finishing 5th in the national championships, and ended up graduating and becoming a coach. Like so many of Hobie's athletes.
So we talk about your time coaching at the 1972 Olympics with Craig Lincoln, but what other Olympics did you attend?
That was it. That was the only Olympic Games that I actually attended. That's it. I had one other athlete, Danny Watson at Harvard, who came 3rd in the Olympic trials at the 1984 Olympic trials. And this was at the point at which we went from 3 per country to 2. And Greg Louganis and Bruce Kimball beat Danny actually in both events. And so Danny didn't make that team. But that was it.
I can't imagine there's anything better than, seeing the Olympics on TV and even coaching the Olympics on the pool deck. But I want to kind of switch gears a little bit from diving and swimming to what got you interested in coaching wakeboarders?
Well, our very dear mutual friend, Brent Kapler, and his family lived in a townhouse adjacent to the one that we lived in. My wife Leslie and I got a townhouse on Lake Gaston in North Carolina, and so the Kaplers lived next door to us, and one thing led to another, and they found out that I had coached diving. Their sons, Jake and Mitch, were interested in wakeboarding, and they wanted to learn aerials. And from a diving perspective, that's somersaults. In wakeboarding, they refer to them as aerials. And Brent wanted to know, how can my sons learn how to do this? I said, well, heck, I live in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. The University of North Carolina is just up the street. Let's bring the boys over. I'll take them over there and put them in the spotting belts, and which is what we did. And the diving coach at UNC provided me with the opportunity to bring the boys over, and we taught them front and back somersaults. And that started that progression. I ended up working with Mitch much beyond that. I helped Brent get a trampoline. Back in Massachusetts, the then diving coach had a spare trampoline that I said, hey, is there any possibility for getting a trampoline? And Brent and I actually drove up to Massachusetts and got this trampoline from Keith Miller, who was then the diving coach at Harvard. Actually, he was an age grouper when I was coaching at Harvard. And that's another long story. But so we got a trampoline for the Kaplers for their backyard, and we set up some rigging so that I could work with Mitch, who learned how to do aerials. Actually, he went on at age 10 to come in third in the world championships in wakeboarding. Talk about fun, being at the right place at the right time. How fortunate can anybody be?
Yeah, and I'm sure Mitch probably would not have won his national championship title in wakeboarding if not for your knowledge and expertise. How do you?
I only provided a little bit, Molly. He had to do the work.
Well, I think you're giving yourself not as much credit as you deserve, but how do you think all of your diving knowledge relates to life itself as well as other water sports?
To me, I guess my perception of your question, Molly, is one, what is it that you're looking to accomplish? And I think that there is a certain amount of perception. I'm trying to think of the right way to describe what's going through my head right now. Why is it, may I ask you, Molly, and you, Jeff, why were you breaststrokers?
I guess for me personally, it was a time of need. I was a freshman in high school and they at the time needed a breaststroker for their dominant relay team. And I kind of just, acclimated to what they needed me to be. And it ended up being, I guess, my stroke. But
yeah, kind of the same way for me. I just gravitated to it at a young age, and I just took to it naturally.
And that said, so you found something that that resonated for you.
Right.
And so then you needed to, so the end result was, I'm going to be a breaststroker. What do I need to be? What do I need to do to be as good as I can be? Does that make any sense to you?
Yes.
mm-hmm.
And so then you focus in on, okay, if breaststroke is going to be my stroke, what is it that is going to help me accomplish that outcome? Does that help to answer your question, Molly?
Mm-hmm. I have another question for you. This might be another tricky one, but what do you want your legacy to be? I told you it was tricky.
I would like to be, if I suppose in my the eulogy or whatever, a person who has been kind, gentle, loving, and wishing to contribute in whatever ways I can to help other people accomplish their goals in life. One of the things I have gotten out of the sport of diving, actually, I left the sport of diving in December of 1988. And I had an absolutely wonderful career in the sport of diving. It's I guess a very long story, but I made a career change into technology. And over the course of time, what has occurred is I became enamored with the prospect of helping teach people how to teach. And if I can say it in a very simple term, if it wasn't caught by the recipient, it wasn't really taught. And so I've been really, what charges my batteries is helping other people learn. And I'm right now, we found a new sport called pickleball. Are you familiar with that?
Yes,
I love
I've heard of it.
pickleball.
Isn't it fun?
It's super fun.
We got introduced to it about 5.5 years ago. And we're in the community where we live. I have ended up being responsible for what we call the player development program. And so what charges my batteries today is helping other people learn the sport of pickleball and grow and enjoy the sport. So that's where I am today. You asked me about moments in time. With your permission, I would like to go off on a slight tangent here. When I was coaching at Harvard, I mentioned Danny Watson, who was national champion. He was my last male national champion. And when he came into Harvard as a freshman, I had an absolutely incredible recruiting year. I had 5 incoming male, 5 incoming females, with three returning males, 3 returning females. I had the largest team I'd ever had, and they were all really highly competent athletes. And the meeting at the very beginning of the year said, welcome back, welcome to Harvard freshman year, or I'm sorry. This was, let's see, 1980, I believe it was, 80 or 81. Sorry, I can't remember exactly. But all of a sudden, this guy walks in and he said, "Hi, I'm Alex. I want to be on the diving team." The boy's name was Alex Lapidus. And I said, "Gee, Alex, what a great year. We've got all these guys coming in. We're going to have the biggest team we've ever had." And I said, "Tell me about your diving background." He said, I've never dived before. And I said, "Alex, over there, Pam Stone, who was one of my seniors," I said, "she is teaching the Learn to Dive class and in our recreation program. Go see her and she'll help you learn how to dive." He said, no, I want to be on an athletic team." And I said, "But okay." So I'm trying to figure out if this guy is thinking about diving. So it's got to be either gymnastics or wrestling, because first of all, he was skin and bones. If he weighed 110 pounds, he was carrying weights in his pockets, just so you get a picture of this guy. And maybe 5'6" at most. At any rate, so I said, "Did you gymnastics?" "No." "How about wrestling?" "No, I've not participated in any athletics whatsoever." One of the things that I wanted to get coming to Harvard was an opportunity to be on an athletic team. What the heck? I said, "Son, you need to know that I've got this team, this huge team of athletes. I don't know how much time I'm going to be able to dedicate to you. If you want to be a part of a team, here's a bathing suit. Our next workout is going to be tomorrow at whenever." And the short of this story is, he came out. Within 1 month, he learned a list on 1 meter that he could actually compete. including front 2.5, back, reverse, and inward 1.5, all tuck, and a full twisting 1.5. 1 month. Fast forward 4 years at the Yale dual meet, in which if somebody wins ever any event in a Yale dual meet, Harvard Yale, they earn their Harvard H. So I dove Alex in both 1 and 3 meter events, which he won. Danny Watson and all of his teammates dove exhibition. So Alex was our only representative. He won both events and earned a Harvard H. That is one of my most treasured coaching accomplishments ever.
Oh, that's a moment to remember.
The story's not done, Jeff.
Okay. I can't wait to hear the rest of this. How could this get better?
You heard, the end at the end of the story. So fast forward, I guess it's been 20 years or so. I get a phone call, and it's Alex Lapidus. He said, "Hey, Jay Dubs, I want to tell you, I just I got really fortunate in the .com boom. I got out. I retired. I'm now diving again in masters diving." Now he lives out he grew up his mother taught at Berkeley, so he's in that area of California. He was training at Stanford with their master's program, sort of really long extended program. The results are he has won Masters Nationals and Masters International diving competitions, diving 1, 3, and 10 meter platform. I take as much pride in those accomplishments, having an influence on Alex Lapidus in his life, as I did with Craig Lincoln, going from 0 to Olympic medal in 4 years.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing. That I think it's a testament to you as a coach, but also as a testament to the athletes that you have. That Alex had that drive and he had that determination, and he followed through on it.
By the way, he was 16 when he showed up at Harvard.
Wow.
I didn't even know. I felt like an idiot.
Well, Coach Walker, I just want to say it was so nice to talk to you today. And I think I can speak for Jeff and I when I say thank you for sharing your journey with us. And we can't wait to see where else it takes you. But like we always say, it's not just about the destination, it's about the journey.